The Sony A7 III, an amazing camera, an awesome camera, probably the best value for money camera that you can still buy in this day and age. And today we're talking about 10 things about it that suck. Wait, what? Yeah, I guess so. Despite being an amazing camera, it still has a few things that aren't so good about it that need to be discussed. So that's what we're doing today. Let's check it out. Welcome guys, and today we're talking about the amazing Sony A7 III, specifically 10 things that aren't so great about it. Now I love this camera, it's been my go-to for a few years now. I've shot tens of thousands of photos with it, hundreds of hours of video. It's a beast, but there are some things that I would love to see improved. So if you are in the market for this camera, because it is probably, in my opinion, still the best value for money hybrid camera out there, you're gonna wanna know about these 10 things. So diving right in, number one, is dust. Sensor dust to be specific, and this camera is an absolute magnet for sensor dust. And this is pretty much all mirrorless cameras, of course, but this one, I gotta say, it really bugs me because there could be an easy solution. Sony, if you're listening, just give us a firmware update to drop that shutter down when we're taking off our lenses or we turn the camera off or anything. It's just, there's some things, please, I hope you're with me on this, that just need to be pristine, that need to be dust-free. And for me, the sensor is one of those things. So number one being, it's a dust magnet, and that is not something that I enjoy about this camera. Number two is not a huge issue for some people, myself included, but it could be improved, and that's the menu system. It's kind of prehistoric, and I gotta say it is overwhelming if you're just switching over to Sony. There's a lot to go through. Once you are versed in it, it's not so bad, but I would love to see it updated, maybe simplified a bit. And kind of the other side of that is there's no touch screen in the menu system. So we have our touch autofocus, but we don't have it for our menu system, and I would love to see that. So there's two things that are not so good, the menu system as well as the touch functionality when it comes to our menu system and our LCD screen in general. So there's a few more things for you. So closely related to our back screen there is, well, our back screen there. The LCD screen as well as the EVF are nothing magical. And when it came out, it wasn't even in the same vicinity of competitors as far as resolution. The EVF here is one of the most important things. And in the A7 III's case, it definitely falls behind. It's not a deal breaker per se. If you see maybe the A7S III with its 10 million dot resolution, it's in a different universe. But really, as far as the LCD and the EVF are concerned, it's kind of like living in the Stone Age. So again, not so great. Next up is the access ports. And for me personally, I use these all the time. They're flimsy, they get in the way, they're just kind of annoying. And they're also not weather sealed very well. And that moves us to our next thing, is the weather sealing. It's decent, but it's not amazing. There are definitely some gaps and some holes left in this body that have been addressed, like you see on the A7R4 and moving forward. So hopefully in the next iteration of this, we do get to see some improved weather sealing. But as far as the A7 III is concerned, yeah, it's a little bit lacking. The next thing that's not so great is the ergonomics of this camera. The overall size is just a little bit awkward for a lot of people, especially if you have bigger hands. In my case, it's not the worst thing. I do enjoy the smaller size for the most part when it comes to travel and weight and all that good stuff. But coming from a Canon, I do miss the ergonomics of the actual camera itself. It doesn't feel like that big, confident DSLR. And it is a mirrorless, but I would like to see it just a tiny bit bigger. So I gotta say the ergonomics for me, they could use a little bit of improvement. Okay, so moving on, the next thing that's not so great about this camera is the IBIS. And in-body image stabilization is a welcomed and fantastic feature to have. It's a game changer, in fact. But just know that Sony's IBIS isn't the best in the world. If you are a vlogger or you do a lot of filming, it's just not going to be up to some of the standards that we're used to, that the other manufacturers are giving us. So again, it's a very welcome feature and I love it, but it's just not the best. Speaking of video, be aware that it does have 8-bit video. It doesn't have 10-bit 422. It's going to be a bit limited. There is no crop in 4K, which is great, and it's limited to 4K 30. So it is a little bit limited by specs, but it's going to be great for the majority of people, including myself for the most part. So going further into video, it does have a 30-minute recording time limit, which might be an issue if you do long interviews or long recording of any kind. So be aware of that. You might want to consider a different camera or investing into an external monitor to get around this issue. It is an issue for some people, myself not being included, but just be aware of it. Another thing that kind of bugs me coming from a DSLR is the startup time. So if you are a wildlife shooter, or if you're relying on your camera to capture spontaneous or fast moving subjects, well, you might want to have that thing turned on, because from off to on is going to take you a few seconds to get set up and going. So that is another aspect of this camera that, well, isn't tremendous. Okay, so let's recap this list as well as give you maybe just a few more things on my mind. First, we've got the sensor dust. Easily corrected, and I really hope Sony pulls the trigger on that in the future. 2, we've got our menu system, which could use an overhaul, but not completely necessary. 3 is our no touchscreen in our menu. Again, very simple and could be easily done, but no such luck. 4 and 5 is our EVF and our LCD resolution. Could be much better and really doesn't hold a candle to some of the other things available to us. But again, for me, not a total deal breaker. 6 is our access ports, 7 is our weather sealing, which is not bad, but definitely could use some improvement. 8 is the overall ergonomics of the camera, and again, coming from a DSLR, it does take a little bit to get used to, although it does feel solid and well made, I will give it that. 9, we have our IBIS, which is a fantastic feature, amazing feature, but Sony's IBIS is just not that good. 10, we have our limited video capabilities. There's no 10-bit and it is limited to 4K 30, but does have some solid video features as well. Also for video at number 11 is our 30-minute recording time. Kind of a bummer if you do shoot longer things, but you can get an external monitor for a workaround. And for me was the startup time. Coming from a DSLR, there is quite a significant difference, so just keep that in mind as well. And a few last things I will mention. We now know that it's completely possible for Sony to do a fully articulating screen, because we're starting to see that come out now. And that's definitely one of the things that sucks about the A7 III, is the lack of that feature. So there you go, that's about 10 things that aren't so great about this camera. And don't get me wrong, it's a phenomenal camera. And if you want to see some awesome things about it, I will link that video up here for you. I also have a full in-depth review for you to check out. But guys, if you liked this video, if it did help you out, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And tell me what you liked about it. And if you didn't like it, tell me what you didn't. If this list of things that suck did sway you to buy this camera, I'll leave an affiliate link down in the description for you so you can pick it up. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.